My mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. Last night on the television, I was on a telephone rapidly rising and with I don't know. COVID has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's lives reflected in the NHEI. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him in. We're going to seize the ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. NATO's purpose is to defend against aggression. Let me make that near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway. My mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. I don't think as the idea that political coverage. I want to thank and recognize Dr. John Kingersong. I can't get this to function at all. My mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. No idea. No idea. No idea.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that since Simonstown and Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Hello, folks, and welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports. It is Sunday, July 21st, 2024, and this is purportedly an email sent out by crooked Joe Biden and his campaign to Americans on the email list. I'm not a recipient of these emails, so I cannot verify the provenance of it. However, it's been widely circulating on social media today. So let's address this, and I'll address whether any of this is true. Two screens to this. Folks, we must hold Trump to account for Project 25. But first, let me cut to the chase. Well, let's be very clear about this. First off, this whole comment right here. Project 25 has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Yet another lie from the political leftists. Donald Trump has nothing to do with Project 25. Project 25 is an effort of the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank that came up with a pathway on how to restore this nation to liberty and freedom for all. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This is a lie perpetrated by bold-faced liars who get away with it. So now you've heard the truth. Let's continue on with this nonsense. This race is about you and your family. It's about your freedom, and it's about our democracy. Well, in fact, it is about our freedom and our family, as you seek to pervert our children and sexualize them in primary school, teaching them how to rim adults, how to perform fellatio and cunnilingus, and teaching them that sex is perfectly okay for minor children. This is what you do to our children. You are right. It is about our families. It's about the perversion of values that is taking place in this country for nigh on 20 years by sick, twisted, demented leftists who have been hired by corrupt school systems around the country to indoctrinate and sexualize our children. It's about the erosion of values and the criminal misuse of the justice system. It is about our family. How you take our Boy Scouts and turn them into Girl Scouts in the Boy Scouts. It is about our family. And it is about democracy, but more importantly, it's about the stake of our republic. We stand for the proposition that all people are created equal, and I'll be damned if I let Donald Trump walk this nation away from it. Well, first off, Joe, you don't believe that all people are treated equal. You're the gentleman who fought to prevent federally integrated busing in the 1970s as a member of the Senate. saying your children never go to school with black kids. You fought integration, yet somehow millions of deluded, moronic black Americans think that you are a supporter of black Americans. How they came to this conclusion, one can never understand. It's absolutely ironic. You are higher than a kite, Joe. You do not believe, and the Democrats do not believe, that people are treated equal. If you did, then the people who walked into the building at the Capitol on the 6th of January would have been charged with misdemeanor trespassing violations and paid 30 days of community service and been done with it. You don't believe in equal treatment. If you believe in equal treatment, the people who committed an actual insurrection against this country on the in the summer of 2020 would have gone to jail for creating the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, a self-declared independent republic within the confines of the city of Seattle, occupying a federal courthouse and taking hostages. You would have prosecuted those people when you became president. Trump should have done it as well. You don't believe in the prospect of equal justice. You don't believe in equality of all. We do. We defended the Constitution while you sat on your ass at Rehoboth Beach, while you stole classified documents and hid them in your garage next to a Corvette, while you stuck them in a think tank which you gave access to Chinese spies to. We defended the Constitution. You undermined the safety and security of this nation. While Eric Swalwell was knocking boots with Fang Fang, a Chinese spy, we defended the Constitution. While Hillary Clinton stole tens of thousands of top secret sensitive compartment information, emails and text message and documents and photos from imagery and shared it on unclassified servers sitting in a broom closet somewhere in Arizona and handed over to Uma Abedin and Representative Anthony Weiner, who likes to hit on little girls, we defended the nation. You defended nothing. You are full of crock. You don't care about equal treatment to anybody. You're a liar. Just look at Project 25, the blueprint for a second Trump team. It's the biggest attack on our government and our personal freedom ever proposed in this country. It will ban abortions nationwide. Survey says wrong. Ding, ding, ding. Pinocchio, wrong. Project 25 can't ban abortions. The federal government has no role in abortion. Only a constitutional amendment can ban abortions at the national level. In order to achieve a constitutional amendment, it must be passed by Congress. Then it must go to 3/4 of the states. 38 of the states must ratify it. 38 states are not going to ratify a ban on abortion. You're a liar. You're a liar, Pinocchio Joe. Pinocchio Joe. It will cut Social Security and Medicare. Perhaps. But would you prefer the country go bankrupt and belly up? These are programs that must be cleaned up. It will abolish the Department of Education. And that's a bad thing? There is nothing in the Constitution that gives the federal government any right whatsoever to interfere in education. That is a state and local responsibility. The disappearance of the Department of Education will improve educational outcomes. Oh, that's a good thing. It will eliminate protections for people with pre-existing conditions. What is your evidence of that? The Republicans have stood by pre-existing conditions. So isn't that funny? So an insurance company is forced to give you a policy if you have cancer, right? So if you have HIV and your care costs $50,000 a year, an insurance company must accept that burden. Why? Why should they accept the burden? You didn't take the risk when you weren't infected, when you didn't have cancer, when you didn't have a medical illness and pay your premiums for insurance. You developed the illness and now you want care? No. Nothing can survive that way. It will give a massive tax cut to the very wealthy. Once again, lying to the world. Just like they lied about the Trump tax cuts, cut billions. Courtney tried that crap on the channel the other night. It cut billions of dollars for corporate billionaires. Yeah, it cut trillions of dollars in taxes for everyone. And the largest percentage gainers were people in the middle class. But the left doesn't like to tell the truth because it undermines their lies. It will allow companies to stop paying overtime to workers. What? Where do you get that from? Project 2025 wants to stop paying overtime to workers? That makes no sense whatsoever. Please cite that, Joe. And it will round up 10 million people in detention camps. No. We don't want detention camps. We want deportations. We want criminal alien invaders sent out of the country where they belong at the expense of the countries that allowed them to slip in here. Nobody wants detention centers. Why do we want to pay to detain these people? Deport them. All 30 million of them. Done and dusted. In South Africa, you can join us in deporting criminal alien invaders who are not migrants, who are not immigrants, who are not legitimate asylum seekers. I got a story about that today. Cuba is emptying itself and moving to America. And this corrupt regime is allowing America to become Cuba. Yep. So there you have it. There you go. That's my opening monologue today, is this purported email from Joe Biden, which is absolutely bat crap delusional. But then it's Joe Biden. What do you expect, folks? Welcome to the program on Sunday, July 21st, 2024. And my mind is not going blank. It's quite well. Ladies and gentlemen, the more we hear, the worse it gets. The failed assassination attempt and the disappointment of the political left that Donald John Trump was not murdered last week on Saturday is shocking, to say the least. The incompetence. Now we're finding out that not only were there not Secret Service agents there in enough force, but number one, we have confirmation from the Secret Service itself that they denied Trump an increased team for over 2 years. On top of that, we're now finding out that there were actually Department of Homeland Security agents who were deployed who were not qualified to protect the president because they didn't have enough agents. Why? Because they were covering Jill Biden. What the frick does Jill Biden have to do with anything? Why is she campaigning in Pennsylvania when Sleepy Joe is busy on the couch at home reading classified documents in an uncleared facility? Wow. All right, let me say hello to everybody in the chat. Keith Alderson is in from Coventry. Welcome. A city we sacrificed so as not to reveal that we had broken the Enigma machine. What a tragedy for people living in Coventry. Hendo is here. Vilma Erasmus, Dylan Combrick. Dylan's always there. Pierre Orban's back again. Garrett Gillett. Hey, Garrett. Johan Eisel. Wow. Plekken Dizon. We played that earlier. Did you catch that, Johan? Welcome back. Where have you been? We have not seen you in donkey years. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the return of Johan Eisel. Where the heck am I at now? Your chat just went away when I clicked on this. I put a timestamp on it. And, oh, there you are. It was 11:37. Well, that was before we got started. I hope you're still here, Johan. Garrett was here. Sedgefield is back. Tanya DeBeer, Ulrich Fenter, Teresa, Petra Myberg. Petra, how are you? Good to see you. How is Felladrift today? And then who else we got? Mark Myberg. You can answer the same question. And John Hutchins in from Arizona. Allison Johnson, A. Moore. Emery says, good evening. You have high hopes for Discourse. Yeah, yesterday was a fun time. That second hour was beautiful. I wasn't planning on doing a second hour. It was only going to be a short one, but it turned out to be quite an interesting conversation. So, James Bowie, Charmaine Hussiman, welcome to you. Good evening. Yeah, fellow train wrecks. No, we're not the train wrecks. These are the cool kids. Folks, you are here with the cool kids. Let me just let you in on a secret. You have tuned into the program where the cool kids hang out. That's right. All the losers go elsewhere. Emil Therrett is here. George Steinberg is in from Heckport. Again, Heckport, Whoop. Both begin with an H. You explain to me. Alan Kotza, welcome to you, Alan. Hendo says, Big Mike pulling the strings for Kamala now. Stay curious, made it. Well, I'm glad you did. Benjamin Labaskakny. Painful to watch this idiot Biden for so long. Hey, take a number. He's my president. Rumor has it. Jan Fiona is here. And Mark Purchase. Erica is in here. I know she appreciates Plekken is on. Benjamin Labaskakny, CyberEggs, James Bowie, Etienne Ronnie. Carl is here. Hester Kotza. Almost missed Hester. Art Precision. And then Marilyn is here. Hey, Marilyn. Gina Mullman, welcome, Gina and Teresa. Did Johan Eisel leave? Johan, are you gone? You just had a little message and left? Shame. You missed Plekken Dizona. Well, we played that at the beginning. So a few days ago, we had a little chat about news outlets to follow. If you don't already, be sure. The European Conservative, great news site. Okay, thank you very much, Emery. Appreciate that. Let's get to the news, folks. A number of news stories to talk about today. I started with very few, but I've managed to find some interesting things to talk about. South Africa has passed a law implementing a two-tier retirement system. You will now be able to take money out of your retirement account. So how is it a retirement account? Why don't you just put your money in your savings? This is a bizarre situation. It's going to lead to people being impoverished who don't have good saving habits later in life because they took the money out of their account. And that's foolish. Money I've set aside for my retirement has been building for 30, 40 years. I haven't touched it, and I put more in there all the time. Unfortunately, it doesn't make me Bill Gates wealthy. I wish it did. But let's talk about this plan. A two-pot retirement system now official after Ramaphosa announced today that he'd signed the Pension Funds Amendment Bill. It gives members of retirement funds access to retirement savings without having to resign or cash out entire pension funds. The first pot will be known as the savings pot. The second pot, the retirement pot. A member will be allowed to make a single withdrawal from the savings pot within a year of assessment with a minimum withdrawal amount of 2,000 Rand. However, withdrawals will be taxed at marginal tax rates. So what's the purpose of this? It is a massive disaster for the future. And what is going to happen, and this is intentional, leftists know what they're doing. They're not stupid, folks. They know what they're doing. They're doing this so that they can push more dependency on the state. Stick with me. More dependency on the state. How does that work? Well, it works like this. You're allowed to put 10,000 Rand from your retirement's put into your account, boom, 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 and then you can take out 2,000. So now you're 20% behind. Next year, you take out another 2,000. So you're still behind. And that money doesn't grow. So your account isn't adequate when you reach retirement. And then you're dependent on the state, which will give you a supplemental retirement payment, taking it out of the earning people's pockets. Yeah, that's what's called. Stupid, teaching bad habits. If you want to have savings, then have savings. Put money in a savings account. That's how it works. It's not rocket science. Of course, the cabal, the oligarchy that controls South Africa's banking system, 5 major banks control everything. Well, they ought to start paying actual savings rates to people to encourage them to save. State-owned enterprise minister Maropene Ramakopa doesn't want to get rid of state-owned enterprises. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Golly, Sergeant Carter. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? The state-owned enterprise minister doesn't want to sell off the state assets. Maropene Ramakopa opposes the sale of equity in the state-owned enterprise or putting line departments in charge of them. Wow. She told Business Times the government should rather bring in private operators to help manage state-owned enterprises while they remain 100% state-owned. I'm not a fan of selling equity, but I would be a fan of partnership where the state owns 100% in terms of operations. We could then find an operating partner, but not sell in any way. Well. Can you see that? Maropene Ramakopa wants to hold on to the failing state assets, and then she wants to bring in suckers like maybe some of you out there in the crowd. You're going to come in, use your money. You're going to pay them for the privilege of running the business that they own, that they can take back from you at any time without any recourse. They take it right back. That keeps the money. You lose your ass, and then you up shit creek. Well, that sounds like a good plan to me. If you work in government, we're going to keep the building. We started seeing this here in Baltimore, where for some strange reason the mayor bought a hotel and then licensed it to the Hilton Group. That hotel has never turned a profit, not one time in 15 years. It has been in the red every single year. And the only reason Hilton keeps that hotel in Baltimore is because it's next to Camden Yards. Yep, that's the only reason. They do it at a loss. Yep, they do it at a loss. How stupid is this? Very dumb, folks. Meanwhile, Johannesburg will be getting a new mayor. Surprise, surprise. Not. That's right. Dada Morero will return as the Joburg mayor after Cabello Gwamanda is booted. Action SA says that it has to represent its voters, so it's going into a coalition with the ANC. Yep. The ANC is believed to have clinched a deal with Action SA, and the Inkatha Freedom Party would see them joining a government of local unity. Morero is now the city's MMC for finance and had a brief stint as mayor last year, and this would see the removal of Aljamal's Cabello Gwamanda as mayor. Action SA's Senate, its high decision-making body, met this weekend and is expected to endorse a deal between its leader, Herman Mashaba, and the ANC Gauteng leader, Panyaza Lesufi. Wow. He would take over as mayor should the agreement be fully endorsed by Action SA. Action SA has 44 seats in the city of Johannesburg. We're the third biggest party. At the end of the day, we're going to have to ask ourselves the question of what value are we providing all those people who voted for us if we have the means to assist this situation, we aren't doing anything about it, says Michael Beaumont. Well, it's a fair statement, but as the city remains corrupt and collapses, you will now be tainted with that. The public has urged caution after Cooperative Governance Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa's phone apparently was hacked. Is this a government phone or a personal phone? Strange goings on in South Africa. The Ministry of Culture says someone hacked his phone from having access to calls and messages, and the lead fraudster has been asking contacts for money. Ministry of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs wishes to inform the public that Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa's mobile phone has been compromised by hackers. Authorized access to his phone has been used to send fraudulent messages soliciting money from contacts in his phone and possibly from other numbers not in his contact list. Wow. It jeopardizes the ministers' personal security and trust of the public. Well, folks, be careful out there. If Chlabisa sends you an email asking for money, you know it's BS. You know it's BS. Listen here, Helen. Sit down. You're not the boss. You're not the boss of me. Gwede Mantashe, the fossil that remains in the ANC cabinet, the man that should have been retired a long time ago, Gwede Mantashe, warns Helen Zille, you're not in charge of your ministers. Cyril's in charge. Strange thing, though. The ANC has always expected the ministers to report to the president of the ANC, not so much the president of the Republic. But now there's other parties that have ministers there. They want them to report to the president, which is what they're supposed to. But Gwede Mantashe claims this is just more white noise to undermine the credibility of the Democratic Alliance in this government of useless unity. Gwede Mantashe, the national chair, says he's warned DA federal leader Helen Zille against acting like a parallel president, calling her behavior the biggest threat to the survival of the government of national unity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest threat to the survival of the government of national unity is the government of national unity, not Helen Zille. Wake up. Well, folks, here in America, a South African national who murdered 2 women gets 226 years in prison. And this is how you deal with criminals. Not this horse crap we see in Philadelphia or Seattle or Washington, D.C. or Chicago or anywhere in South Africa where criminals get a life sentence and they're out of prison in 3 years. What the hell is that? Why is Oscar Pistorius walking the streets? He murdered a woman. Armed nor foul. Special treatment for the rich guy. Now he's out enjoying life again. No, unacceptable. A judge sentenced a South African-born killer to 226 years in Alaskan jail for 2 savage murders and said there was no hope of rehabilitation, just a need to keep him off of the streets. South African-born Brian Stephen Smith, who's 53, recorded himself raping, beating, and killing a homeless Alaskan woman, Kathleen Jo Henry, who was 30, on an SD card labeled homicide at Midtown Marriott. The videos and images, which never showed his face, were copied by a woman in possession of his phone and sent to police. The 39 graphic pictures and 12 videos showed a woman being raped, beaten, and murdered. His voice was on the recordings that led to his arrest back in 2019. A detective reviewing the images recalled an earlier investigation of a man with the same unusual accent. He made the link to Smith, who grew up in Queenstown, because of his accent, which stood out as there are so few South Africans living in Anchorage. After Smith was arrested, he confessed to shooting another woman whose body was recovered and identified as Veronica Abuchuk, 52. Wow. It said the first image in the card showed a female Alaskan native with dark hair lying on the floor next to the bed. The female was completely naked and on her back. The female's left eye was bruised and swollen shut. There was blood along the opening of her left eye. Her right eye was partially open. Lips were bloody and blue. Wow. In the second video, the recording says, "My hand's getting tired." He proceeds to stomp on the female's throat with his right foot. The male can be heard saying, "You need to effing die, B, and F just effing die." In my movies, everybody always dies, he says. What are my followers going to think of me? People need to know when they're being serial killed. Good Lord. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's how you deal with criminals. 226 years or death penalty. So another killer looking for sympathy, this one in South Africa. The attacker of Yanis Wallace, the man who killed Chris Hani, is in isolation and has not been charged. Mandla Mondonsela, a former South African Air Force sergeant and Umkhonto-we-Sizwe cater, who allegedly stabbed Chris Hani's killer Yanis Wallace in Koso Mpuru prison in November 2022, hasn't been charged for the crime. And the Sunday Times wants us to have empathy for this man who attempted to kill him. Now, listen to what he says. He's been kept in isolation in the prison's Ultramax unit since the incident. After the attack, prison officials told me they would be keeping me in CMAX until the media attention calmed down and the psychiatrists had made a report about me. They said it should be for a period of about 6 months. Those 6 months came and went, then another 6 months, then another. I've now been kept in solitary for more than 18 months with no end in sight. I spend 23 hours a day in my cell, totally alone. I'm allowed 1 shower every morning, but the water is ice cold regardless of the season. I have no access to news, no radio or television, anything. I thirst to know what is happening in the outside world. Well, I'm sure the person you murdered before that got you in prison in the first place would like to have a television and a shower, even if it was cold, and know what the news is. But they don't, because they've departed this earth, because you're a scumbag frickin' killer. He's serving a life sentence for the killing of a superior officer. He murdered an officer at the Talon Bezuidenhout Military College in 2007. I don't give a flying flip about you being in isolation. The fact that you're still walking this earth and breathing is an insult to the human race. 11 years into his sentence, he allegedly attacked Wallace with garden shears. The attack happened 2 days before Wallace was due to be released on parole after spending 28 years in prison. During his prison visit, Mondesela claimed that he had not acted alone when he attacked Wallace. He says, "I cannot say too much now because these cells in CMAX are recorded. But I can tell you this, I did not act alone or in isolation." What makes things more complicated is that MK, at the time when I attacked Mr. Wallace, was still under the wing of the ANC. No, it wasn't. It didn't exist, you dingbat. But you don't know. You had access to news then, but there wasn't even existence. The ANC disbanded MK. There was no MK when you attacked him. Now they are a political party and not the revolutionary force I joined back in 1988. Revolutionary force. See, this is what happens when you let these murderers in your military. And that's what happened in 1994. The order was to kill him or delay his release on parole by seriously injuring him. I'm a soldier who failed in executing his orders. For that, my punishment is to be deserted by my structures. Since I've been here, not a single person outside my family has come to visit me before you walked in here today. Oh, what a tragedy for you, you murderous scumbag. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the test match yesterday, South Africa and Bloemfontein, 43,000 people showed up. It was a raucous crowd. Portugal put on a fine performance, although they were clearly outmatched, but they did a great job. And Dos Santos was amazing with 2 tries, a brace of tries for Portugal in this contest. Plucky Portugal outgunned by belligerent Boks in Bloemfontein in historic first test. Despite a red card, 2 yellow cards, the Springboks ran out 64-21 winners over Portugal in Bloemfontein. Wing Makazole Mapimpi had a hat trick, and a bunch of debutants had tries, but Portugal was also part of the story of the day. And another story with rugby, and more doping incident here. Alleged doping, a positive test for Sibu Nkosi, and it looks like he's at the end of his road. Another doping scandal. Springbok wing Sibu Nkosi is allegedly tested positive for a banned substance. The 2019 World Cup winner missed the Cheetahs match this weekend at Loftus. When Cheetahs coach Ivan van der Westhuizen announced his side, he said it was he was left out for personal reasons. But on Sunday, local newspaper Rapport broke the news that Nkosi had returned a positive test for an anabolic steroid mainly used by bodybuilders. Well, there you go. Yet another South African doping. Well, what is that sound? Oh, did anybody watch the All Blacks game on Friday at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, where this woman got up and caterwauled the A-E-I-O. That was better than she did. Yeah, that's better than she did. My poor ears, All Blacks fans slammed the worst ever rendition of the national anthem. All Blacks fans have slammed Marla Kavanaugh's rendition of God Defend New Zealand. While Robertson's charges were outstanding through the 80 minutes, proceedings did kick off with a bum note with Kavanaugh's rendition of the anthem. Okay, never again, please. Sorry, one fan remarked. Another added, the rendition of our national anthem. Ooh. Journalist Jamie Wall weighed in on the social media platform, Twitter, saying, F, this is a shocker of a rendition of our already crap national anthem. And his views were widely shared by onlookers. Bro, that anthem effing sucked. Like even more crap than our anthem usually is. Australian journalist Nathan Williamson believed the singer definitely bet the overs on length of anthem. Several fans said it was the worst rendition they've ever heard. It was atrocious and so slow, my poor ears. Absolutely shocking. I had to mute the TV. Oh, dear God. It was horrible, man. It was horrible. What about that chick that sang at the All-Star game? Oh, she was horrible, too. Miss Auto-Tune. Oh, my goodness. Nigeria's Dangote refinery should hit 550,000 barrels per day this year. Wow, that's impressive. Dangote's refinery will hit 550,000 barrels per day, or 85% of its capacity. Wow. It's having to increase crude imports due to insufficient domestic supplies. So Nigeria, which is a major oil producer of nearly 2 million barrels per day, can't provide sufficient oil to this refinery so they can operate at maximum capacity. They have to import oil into Nigeria to refine it. Seriously? Nigeria has to import oil to refine it. Nigeria, a major oil producer, has to import oil to the Dangote refinery. Wow. Chief Executive Aliko Dangote, the Nigerian billionaire, said that 650,000 barrel per day capacity, it's the largest in Africa, had only received 5 crude cargoes from state oil firm NNPC since it started operating earlier this year, instead of the 15 that it expected. That's why we went ahead and bought some Brazilian crude. We also got U.S. crude. Anytime we go to international oil companies, they say go to brokers. Brokers are charging a markup of $4 per barrel. So Nigerians, if your petrol is expensive, blame the National Petroleum Producing Company of Nigeria. Wow. Well, Yemen's Houthis vow revenge and they take it. They pledge a huge response to Israel as the Gaza situation spirals. Yemen's Houthi rebels promise a huge retaliation against Israel following a deadly strike on the port of Hodeidah as violence spread. And Israel says that they shot down a missile fire from Yemen hours after they attacked the refinery in Yemen. This is just crazy, folks. How does this stuff just keep happening? My goodness. Well, the Houthis have struck, as I said, and Israel went after them as well. Saturday strike against Yemen's Houthis, the first time Israel carried out attacks in Yemen, reportedly struck oil storage facilities and electric power infrastructure in the port city, setting off major blaze that firefighters were still battling this morning. Yeah, that's a pretty significant hit. In Bangladesh, the top court has scrapped most of the outrageous ethnic-based quotas, like BEE, that give people advantage based on immutable facts, things that you can't change. Finally, after violence, the top court scales back but didn't abolish a contentious quota system that led to deadly protests. Bangladesh's Supreme Court scaled back a controversial job quota system after nationwide unrest over the past week, during which more than 100 people were killed. Students have been demanding an end to a controversial quota system. Wow. Supreme Court ordered the quota for veterans' descendants be cut to 5%, with 93% of jobs be allocated on merit. The remaining 2% will be set aside for people of ethnic minorities and transgender and disabled people. So 7% of jobs are going to go to people that aren't qualified. That's not going to make things better. That's not going to make things better. Well, the Philippines and China have reached an agreement of sorts to allow the Philippines to resupply their troops out on these sunken ships in the Scarborough Shoal. Philippines and China reached South China Sea arrangement. Manila announced a deal over supplies to the disputed second Thomas Shoal, saying both sides recognize the need to ease tensions in the South China Sea. They've reached a deal. They hope will end the confrontation at the fiercely contested atoll. Philippines and People's Republic of China have reached an understanding on a provisional arrangement for the resupply of daily necessities and rotation missions to the BRP Sierra Madre in Anguin Shoal. Now, that's what the Philippines call the second Thomas Shoal. But China also claims this, and here are the competing claims. There's the Chinese Coast Guard ship. Look at all these competing claims in the South China Sea. All those different lines. Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Vietnam, and the most ludicrous one of all is the one by China, which is the 9-dash line. What a ridiculous nonsense. China. These people are comical. These are thousands of miles from their soil, and they try to claim it. People are still up in arms about China, but China's a mess, folks, and I've been telling you this the entire time I've been broadcasting. Now the media are catching on. Huge overinvestment, weak domestic sales, and trade barriers abroad have depressed profits and pushed many companies to the brink of bankruptcy in China. As Western companies quake at the latest onslaught of cheap Chinese goods, a similar drama is playing out in China, where manufacturers are struggling as Beijing boosts industrial capacity without stimulating new demand. Consider Jiangsu Lopal Tech, a company that supplies lithium-ion iron phosphate to make batteries. The company lost $169 million in 2023, wiping out 3 years of profits. It blamed the red ink on overcapacity in the lithium iron phosphate market and a slowdown in demand for domestic battery makers. And that goes across the board in China's economy. It goes across. Well, Yemen was divided in North and South Yemen previously. Perhaps I should go back. 11 dead and dozens missing after a highway bridge in China crumbles in flooding and heavy storms. Boy, China, their Belt and Road Initiative. Look at that, they can't even build bridges. In this photo released by the Xinhua news agency, rescuers work near a collapsed bridge, northwest China's Shaanxi province. Chinese authorities say several people have died, more than a dozen are missing in the partial collapse of the highway bridge. Where you go. Chinese authorities say at least 11 people have died and 30 are missing in the partial collapse. This news comes to us from the AP in Taiwan, not from the Chinese, who are opaque. Chinese naval ships sail into the Baltic, and they're caught on video. A pair of Chinese naval ships were escorted into the Baltic by NATO vessels Saturday as they steamed towards St. Petersburg for this year's Navy Day celebrations. Footage from a live bridge camera captured the moment a Danish patrol boat led the Chinese destroyer Zhouzhou and fleet oiler Honggu past Denmark's Baltic Islands, according to an ex-post. Here we go. Well, that's taking way too long. Why is that taking so long? Well, we'll just skip that then. It doesn't want to work. That's odd. Well, it was working before. Carl, I'll explain what's going on with Ronaldo when I finish the news, if you stick around. Automated teller machines are being bombed at a record rate in Germany, and the public is in danger. Germany is preparing to crack down after a sharp increase in cash machine bombings by criminal gangs in recent years. The number of ATM burglaries involving explosives has increased 26.5% in 2022 over 2021. Germans have a real problem between criminal alien invaders, the destruction of German culture and language, the overpopulation of criminal alien invaders, and the rapes of Germans, and now this crime wave on top of that. A German citizen has been convicted and sentenced to death in Belarus, charged with terrorism and mercenary activity. The man, reportedly known as Rico Krieger, is a 29-year-old German, purportedly a Red Cross employee. He's been sentenced to death. Human Rights Center Viasna said the German national is a German Red Cross employee. According to his LinkedIn profile, he worked as an emergency medical technician for the German Red Cross and an armed security officer at the U.S. Embassy in Berlin. He was sentenced in the Minsk Regional Court on June 24th and is scheduled to be executed. He's charged for 6 articles of the Criminal Code of Belarus for mercenary activity, agent activity, an act of terrorism, the creation of extremist formation, intentional repair of a vehicle or communication lines, and illegal actions in relation to firearms, ammunition, explosives. And this should serve as a warning to wannabe mercenaries. Do not get involved in the conflict. Cyprus marks the 50th anniversary of the Turkish invasion of the Mediterranean island. Greek Cypriots mourn the anniversary of Turkey's partial invasion following a brief Greek-inspired coup. Turkey's Erdogan dismissed the UN champion federal model for a unified state. Internationally recognized Cyprus marked its Saturday, the 50th anniversary of Turkey's invasion, unveiling memorials of those who lost their lives. Over 3,000 were lost in the Turkish invasion. Cyprus had gained its independence from British rule back in 1960 based on a treaty banning it joining with Greece or Turkey. It also banned partition and made London, Athens, and Ankara guarantors of Cyprus's independence. But then, of course, Ankara broke that and invaded Cyprus, causing the death of at least 3,000 Greek Cypriots. Well, what did I tell you, folks? What did I tell you? I've said this over and over. I've said the effort to force us to be a cashless society, there's nothing in there, you can see, empty, no cash. The cashless society would have consequences, especially for the poor. And now people are listening, thank goodness, after what happened with this CrowdStrike shutdown and people couldn't get money. Global IT outage shows the dangers of a cashless society. Cash provides essential fallback when digital payments break down. Campaigners say the chaos caused by the global IT outage last week underlines the risk of moving towards a cashless society. Supermarkets, banks, pubs, cafes, train stations, airports were all hit by the failure of Microsoft systems on Friday, leaving many unable to accept electronic payments. Now, as I've said, it's illegal in America not to accept cash for payment. However, the airport in Newark is committing crimes every day by refusing to accept cash. It's a crime. China and the U.S. have prosecuted people for refusing to accept cash, but it's not being done on a frequent enough basis. Cash society is not safer for all society. That's horse manure. It's absolute horse manure. And let me give you an example of that. Let me give a perfect example of that. Your car breaks down in Chester, Pennsylvania, a notoriously dangerous home of rapists, murderers, and armed robbers, all released by Larry Krasner. You go to a rugby game at the stadium, you leave the stadium, your car breaks down, and you can't move. So you call the auto club. The auto club comes, and they start to hook it up to their towing vehicle, and then they ask for payment. Well, the payment system is down. So how are you going to pay? You can't. So they leave you there to be murdered, robbed, and raped. That's just one example. The poor are the ones who suffer. The poor are the ones who suffer. Most people in this world do not have credit cards or debit cards. The cashless society is the purview of the rich and privileged. The purview of the rich and privileged scientists. It is not safer. It is not safer. With the blink of an eye, your entire savings and wealth can be taken away from you just like that, instantaneously. They can't take the cash out of your pocket, but they can take the money out of your account. Also, these cards and this cashless society will be used to punish you in the New World Order. So when you go to the petrol station to pump gas and you've exceeded your carbon output for the month, you go to put the nozzle in, you put your card in to pay, and it won't dispense petrol because you've exceeded your per capita carbon output this month. Cash is king. Well, the A380 is making a comeback of sorts. This aircraft that Airbus built, they thought was going to be their kingmaker to make them incredibly wealthy. This would be the big hub and spoke for the entire world, kind of like the U.S. does in its internal market, hub and spoke, but for the world with these massive carriers, A380 carrying hundreds, 500, 600 passengers, something like that. They thought it was going to be great. And it did well initially, but then the whole thing kind of fell apart because these planes were mostly empty flying around the world, except for a handful. Well, they're making a comeback now. At least 10 airlines are flying these big birds again. Yep, airlines have fallen back in love with the Airbus A380. Every route flown by the world's largest passenger jet we'll show you here. Emirates has 118 A380s. Wow, that's impressive. It took Airbus decades to develop the A380, a project announced in 1990 to compete with the Boeing 747. When it first entered service with Singapore in 2007, it became the world's largest passenger jet. By the way, folks, I think I've mentioned this before, from Toulon, when the A380 made its maiden operational flight, the first time it was ever in the air, I was in a plane flying above it over France. I was flying over the A380 on its maiden flight. The captain told us, folks, look out the window. Down below us, on the right-hand side of the aircraft, you'll see the A380 aircraft on its maiden flight. I saw that. How cool is that? Airlines have begun falling back in love with it. Yep, after COVID. As of July, 10 airlines operate. Dubai-based Emirates has 9 times as many planes as everybody else, though. So ANA, All Nippon Airways, ASEAN Air, British, Emirates, Etihad, Korean, Lufthansa, Qantas, Qatar Airways, and Singapore. These are the 82 routes that they fly. Of course, Dubai and London are the 2 big links for these things. No, it works well for Emirates and Qatar, but that's about it. Doesn't work well for other airlines. I owe immigration my life, says Donald Trump. Bit of an exaggeration. He owes turning his head to look at an immigration slide his life. He mocks the Democratic effort to oust Biden. Speaking at his first campaign rally since surviving the assassination attempt, Mr. Trump told the raucous crowd gathered that had he not turned his head in Butler last week to highlight a chart showing the influx of criminal alien invaders, Biden, he would be dead. I owe immigration my life. I think I'm going to sleep with it tonight. Donald Trump is a funny guy. He is a funny guy. Former White House doctor details and reveals the Trump injury and assassination attempt. Said the swelling is resolved and the wound is starting to granulate and heal properly. A week after the assassination attempt on former President Trump, former White House physician and current Representative Ronnie Jackson of Texas issued a statement providing details about the president's injuries sustained in the shooting. A gunman attacked him, of course. The bullet produced a 2-centimeter wide wound that extended down the cartilage surface of the ear. There was initially significant bleeding, followed by marked swelling of the upper ear, but now it's healing. Wow, it's an absolute miracle he wasn't killed. Agreed, 100%. Well, the Secret Service says that it denied Donald Trump more agents, which, of course, Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle lied about to ABC News and has yet to tell the American people or Congress what happened. In a reversal, a spokesman said the service had turned down requests from former President Trump's team over the past 2 years. Yep, repeated requests for more agents. Wow. They had denied this previously, but now we know they're liars. Nothing the Secret Service says can be trusted. Senator Joe Manchin, the centrist Democrat from West Virginia, has now called on Biden to step down and pass the torch to the new generation. Which one? There's 5 generations behind Joe. Independent Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, he's not independent, he's a Democrat, called on Biden to step down. He will go down with a legacy, unlike many people, as one of the finest and surely a patriot and American. Joe Manchin, one of the finest what? Grifters, thieves, patriot? This coward that never served, this coward that stole from American people, this coward that denied the lives of service members dead on his watch because of his cowardice. He will go down as the worst president in history, Joe Manchin, and you're a fool for saying anything else. Utterly stupid. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about the criminal alien invasion of America coming from Cuba, whose population is dropping like a rock. Why? Because they're all coming to America. A stunning 10% of Cuba's population, more than 1 million people, left between 2022 and 2023. The data confirmed reporting by the Miami Herald and Cuban independent media that sounded the alarm of the mass migration of Cubans amid a severe economic downturn. According to official figures made public for the first time, Cuba's population went from 11,181,000 in December 31st, 2021 to 10,055,000. The immigration of 1,011,269 Cubans was the main factor contributing to the massive fall in Cuba's population. Wow. Other factors include a high number of deaths, 405,000 deaths, and a low birth rate with only 284,000 children born. Most of those migrants have come to the United States in the most significant migration wave in history. 645,122 Cubans came to the U.S. seeking asylum through Mexico through a legal parole program created by the corrupt Biden administration in October 2021. Seriously? 600,000? 6% of Cuba is now here in one wave? No. Send them back. New Hampshire has banned transgender procedures for children and reserves girls' sports for females. Thank you. Reason has settled in New Hampshire. The Granite State, the governor said, he also signed a bill, Chris Sununu, allowing parents to opt their child out of instruction related to sex and gender. Well, they should just ban that stuff. New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu signed 3 bills and vetoed one that affect how schools, businesses, and medical establishments should consider transgender-related issues. The 3 approved bills keep girls' sports exclusive to girls, bar those under 18 from receiving genital gender reassignment surgery, and give parents more control over how, if at all, their children are taught about sex and gender at school. Wow. House Bill 1205 is the first one. House Bill 619 bans gender surgeries. And House Bill 1312 requires school districts to notify parents at least 2 weeks in advance of any material related to sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, or gender expression. Now, this entirely reasonable political act will have the leftists up in arms and screaming discrimination and equality under the law. But no, what this does is protect children. It protects transgender children, protects gay children, protects heterosexual children from exploitation by the lunatics in our schools. Well, folks, if you're looking for a place to go to, if you live in America, you want a better place to live. If you live in South Africa, you're looking for a place to go to, a lovely place with fantastic natural scenery, an abundance of natural resources. But I'll caution you, it's remote and expensive, but it's a beautiful place. Where is that? Alaska, where the population is collapsing. Yep. Alaska demographers predict population drop, a switch from prior forecast. Alaska's population is set to significantly decline by 2050, according to new forecast. Wow. Reverses decades of optimistic forecast about the rising population. State demographer David House said the department based its forecast on the 30-year average. Results in the state's population falling from 736,000 to 722,000 by the year 7050. Now, the 736,000 is the current population, but the projection was they'd already be over 843,000 when it's actually 736. It's 108,000 less than what they predicted it would be now. So, Alaska, north to Alaska, we're going north, the rush is on. Well, returns of Amazon packages are driving retailers crazy. Here in America, retailers have made a Faustian deal with Amazon, willing like Best Buy and others to take Amazon returns. And it's resulting in disastrous outcomes where employees are spending much of their time dealing with Amazon returns rather than working for the companies that pay them. And they don't make much money from this. Returns of the Amazombies. Unwanted packages are a retail nightmare. Amazon returns are cheap and easy for everyone except the workers at Kohl's, Staples, and other retail outlets that have to deal with them. Yep, outstretched arms laden with packages, they stagger in from the parking lot and wander the aisles searching for the returns counter. At Staples, Kohl's, and the UPS store, they're known as Amazomies. Amazon customers who show up each day with hundreds of packages to return, turning store associates' jobs into a retail horror story. When Amazon signed deals to turn brick-and-mortar retail stores into Amazon drop-off points, it was supposed to be a win-win. Easier returns would mean happier customers while bringing more foot traffic into ailing retail locations. But store employees say the Amazomies have become a plague on their working lives, wasting staff time without increasing revenue while creating long lines, freight tempers, and mounting piles of boxes and plastic waste. Some UPS store and Kohl's locations had allocated additional staff just to handle the workload. Amazon makes up 1/10 of our profits, but it takes up 90% of the working days, said Jeremy Walker, an associate at UPS store in Dallas, that received between 300 and 600 returns per day. Wow. As the de facto human face of Amazon, these retail employees bear the brunt of customer frustration. Wow. The allure of free returns has played a big part in getting customers addicted to online shopping. UPS stores have long accepted Amazon returns. Whole Foods began taking them shortly after Amazon acquired it in 2017. Kohl's was next in 2018, with Staples following last year. These deals with retailers whose businesses were decimated by the rise of e-commerce made returns even easier. In 2023, Americans racked up $247 billion in online returns, according to the National Retail Federation. Americans returned $247 billion in retail purchases. That is 2/3 of South Africa's entire economy. We sent back in returns, not purchases, returns. Good God, that's insane. Absolutely insane. Well, California's minimum wage is causing chaos. Yep, let me read this op-ed piece from the Wall Street Journal. The $20 fast food mandate is harming workers and businesses. The laws of economics continue to exist even when politicians ignore them. The latest illustration is the unfolding damage from California's increase in the fast food minimum wage to $20 an hour. Associated Press Dispatch last week reported that California fast food franchise has been cutting worker hours after the wage mandate took effect in April, a 25% increase from the state's $16 an hour minimum wage. A Wendy's franchise owner said he used to schedule nearly a dozen workers for an afternoon shift, now only 7. He also raised prices by 8%. A Del Taco manager slashed the number of workers for each shift by half. Jersey Mike's franchise owner reduced morning and evening shifts, reduced his staff by 20 workers, and raised prices. His turkey subs that previously sold for less than $10 now cost $11.15. Customers are struggling to swallow the higher prices, and they're ordering fewer items. Meanwhile, California's most famous burger chain, In-N-Out, which has long paid more than state minimum wage, last month said it raised starting wages to $22 to $23 an hour to attract and retain its best workers. But it also increased prices. So California, as predicted by economists like myself, has destroyed jobs and raised prices for consumers. Lose, 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 lose. And that's how it works in the leftist economics. All right. Let's go back to the chat and see who's in the chat, what I need to cover here. That's the news for today. Thanks for being with us, folks. Biden and team are construction workers paving the way for Trump. It's funny. A few days ago, we had a little chat. Okay, got that. What's going on over here? I just received something on my phone. Let me check and make sure it's not something pressing. That's not it. That's not it. Oh, it's a Trump message. Okay. So the two-pot thing is going to be a huge disaster for the future. Once I get through the chat, I'll talk about Ronaldo, okay? Peter John Vust, good evening to you. Mark Purchase is all about the money taken out of retirement accounts so it can be taxed. Yeah, and people won't have any money later on. Gypsy Backpackers is here. Carlos Puter. Okay, Carlos. The ANC's trying its hardest to keep whatever they're doing in Gauteng a secret. That's true. Stefan Smith says Helen is a master strategist. She knows what she's doing. Agreed. This government's continuing stealing big time, pulling in DA with them. Yep, James, I agree. RB says, watched an irritating video that Zim had at Government National Unity before what? It really started to go caca. RB, welcome to the program. I've talked about that hundreds of times on this program. I've discussed it repeatedly. I reported on it in the intelligence community back in the day. I've talked about it here repeatedly the past 4 years about the so-called Government National Unity foisted on the Zimbabwean people after Mugabe lost an election, even though they tried to steal it, even though they raped members of the MDC, the Movement for Democratic Change. They raped their legislature candidates and members of parliament. They murdered opposition figures. They stuffed ballot boxes in Mashonaland, and they still lost the election despite their cheating. In 2008, Mugabe lost the election to Morgan Tsvangirai and refused to leave office. South Africa was part and parcel of the theft of governance from the people of Zimbabwe, keeping ZANU-PF in power by forcing the MDC to accept a government national unity rather than forcing the ZANU-PF out of office. talked about this endlessly. What happened, just like I said, and I said, in fact, even here I said the scenario. One of my scenarios for the election, which I posted 2 months before the election, was the Zimbabwe for South Africa scenario, in which we have a replay of 2008 in South Africa, with the ANC needing partners and getting partners like the DA to join them in a government coalition to rule South Africa, and handing off to the DA the ministries that need attention to save the economy and raise revenue, increase taxes so the ANC can continue to steal out the back door. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. Mark said, I thought I had the monopoly on crazies. No, I don't think so. Watch a program which reasoned that the shots at Trump or in his vicinity came from... Yeah, a lot of... I'm not even paying attention to that right now. There are a bunch of different stories coming out now, people making videos about, they're analyzing it, getting millions of views. They don't know what they're talking about, many of these people. It's just conspiracy stuff, and people are eating it up. I don't do conspiracies. I don't do unfounded things. I deal in facts. And that's what really burns the ass of the racists, the leftist hate wankers who dislike me so much, because my credibility is unimpeachable. If I do make a mistake, I admit a mistake, but I never lie to people, and I never mislead you. That's why I responded to some idiotic comments on Megaphone Sports the other day. Is it true that the major and the DOC was assassinated? I have no idea. I have no information on that. That might be something coming out from individuals being shared privately in WhatsApp groups who were there. I do know that a grenade exploded and he died. But I wouldn't be surprised if the gentleman was fragged by other troops. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Lions are on top of the Curry Cup table. That's correct. The red card, man, I don't know. It seemed like a legal tackle to me as well. I didn't see any head contact on the initial replay, which they didn't show again. They only showed replays from further away to the official. And from there, it looks like the heads might have hit. But when we saw the first replay, they were up close, and you could see that never hit. And even if they did, that was incidental. Should have been a yellow card at worst, because it came from the collision. Anyway, yeah, but red card is ridiculous. Apparently, people don't vet these singers. Emory said they should divide Yemen and get over with. Well, it was divided previously, North and South Yemen, which wasn't really North and South. Carl says, anyone know what's going on with Ronaldo? I'm getting that shortly. Charles says, nothing wrong with that tackle. No head contact. He just marmaladed him, hence the knee jerk. Yep. Oh, I guess you don't like Holly Davidson. And Charmaine wants to know what's going on with Ronaldo. Produced locally, save on transport. Okay. Germans were striking to get immigrants. Okay, Charles, she was wrong, and I hope it gets addressed. Yeah, I hope that the World Rugby does review this one. They have been doing that lately, and downgrading that red card. If they downgrade it to no card, that would be embarrassing for World Rugby. They'll probably go back to a yellow card if they do it. And no, scientists, the cashless society is not safer. Carl wants to know if he's working or his parliamentary ambition has been killed. She just followed her TMO recommendation. It was not really in her hands. Upgrade from yellow to red is all the TMO, not her. Agreed, Charles. And then Carl, per capita put, that's not a good idea. Okay. That IT breakdown, man, that is not a standard SOP to upgrade millions of systems without a hard test. RB, it just highlights the vulnerabilities and overdependence on electricity and electronic systems. And I can give you dozens of examples of how. So in 1987, I had my first credit card back then. I had a $300 maximum limit at any time. I wrote a check that week because I was going Christmas shopping, and I paid off my balance, which was like $100 some dollars, or $200, so $300 limit. I went shopping, and I went to a store, tried on clothing, spent a good time there, went to purchase my things, and my credit card was declined. I only carried one credit card at that time. The card was declined. They wouldn't accept it. So I couldn't purchase things. I had driven 125 kilometers to go shopping, and I couldn't purchase the things. Never mind the embarrassment. My authorized credit was $300 because I paid off the entire balance early. But they didn't update their systems. No. I use credit cards extensively, but people who live in the fantasy world that the internet and connectivity is a solution, you're wrong. It's not the truth. Live earthquake, wildlife area. Okay, always keep cash. Emory works wonders for Emirates. That's the airline. Okay, the A380. A380 is stunning, smooth as silk. Yeah, no, I enjoy it. I've flown the A380 with Lufthansa and with Air France from OR Tambo to Munich and to Paris. Yep. Most airlines reactivated because there are major engine issues with other aircraft. And Carl just takes his phone with him. Okay, well, and when your phone is stolen, you're screwed. Or when the battery dies, you're screwed. Or when the software's corrupt, you're screwed. Through the cartilage, does it grow back? No, cartilage doesn't grow back, so they're probably going to have to graft something on his ear. You're going to have a battle scar, Light Rain. What do South people think here about the penalties solar users will have to pay? I think that's ridiculous, Charmaine. In other news, alleged Super Mama Joy, Minister of Sports and War of Words. Yeah, I didn't see the War of Words, but she did go to the Portugal game. At least it looked like her. At least some Cubans hate commies. Yeah, that's true. There are worse invaders, Light Rain. That's correct, but none of them should be here. Okay. Yeah, they want to steal money in your pocket. That's what they're doing. There's a lot of chat here I'm trying to catch up with, folks. Sorry. Kathy says, in your opinion, if Trump wins the election, will there be enough executive officers left in the U.S. Armed Forces who are competent and loyal to Trump? What's your opinion of the Flynn movie and Flynn? I haven't seen any Flynn movie. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's plenty of competent officers. You mean in the military? You say executive officer. There's plenty of people who could serve in his cabinet. I could be his defense secretary. I could be his Homeland Security secretary. He can appoint me. Absolutely. If not, send me be the ambassador to South Africa. I'm competent. Yeah, the U.S. Armed Forces, the Army has 87,000 officers. We have plenty of officers, and competent ones are there. But a lot of them becoming tainted by the wokeness. So that's going to have to be fixed. No one should be loyal to Trump. Let me clarify something very quickly, Kathy. None of them should be loyal to Trump. I wasn't loyal to Trump. I wasn't loyal to Obama. I wasn't loyal to Bush. I wasn't loyal to Clinton. I wasn't loyal to Bush or Reagan. I served under 6 presidents. I wasn't loyal to any of them. I was loyal to this document. This document, the Constitution of the United States, not the president. And that's the strength of our country. Barack Obama made stupid political decisions which destroyed world security and harmed our country. But they were legal. So I followed the orders that were legal. My obligation is to not follow illegal orders and to only follow legal orders by the officers appointed above me. I support and defend the Constitution of the United States, not Donald Trump, not Joe Biden. So it's not loyal to Trump, but loyal to the country, I think is what you want to say. Anybody that's partisan and supports a president is not loyal to the Constitution because they violate their oath. Cash is king, says Debbie. Yep. Courtney's back. Slept delivering mail. Okay, I'm sorry. You're wiped out there. Fat and Frantic had an interesting song quite a while back. Freedom of Sweet Word. Don't know that. First time I've seen a woman riff, and she loved her whistle. Oh, woman ref, and didn't know what a crock penalty was. Had to Google. Who didn't know what a crock penalty was? You didn't, or Holly Davidson didn't? I've seen Holly Davidson referee many games. I never had a credit card, only a debit card. Well, the problem with the debit card, Emery, is in America, we are one of the, I think, the only country in the world that protects you with a credit card. So if your credit card, and this isn't a credit card, I'm just pulling a card up. If your credit card is lost or stolen in America, no matter where you are in the world, if it's an American bank, if your credit card is lost or stolen, you have an obligation to contact your credit card issuer, typically a bank, but not always, in a reasonable amount of time. Doesn't say what a reasonable amount of time is. The bank can decide. But almost always, if your card is stolen and charges are run up on it, you contact the bank. These days, they usually contact you because their software picks up the unusual activity. You contact the bank and you say, hey, my card was stolen or lost. That's not me making the purchases. You are only liable for $50 under the law. So someone could go buy a yacht, a car, run up $80,000 on your credit card if you have an $80,000 limit, and then all you have to pay is $50. And most banks waive that. However, a debit card is directly linked to your bank account. And if someone gets your debit card and uses it successfully, that money is gone forever, unless your bank wants to give back, and that's rare. That money is gone forever, directly out of your bank account. So you run a risk. I had debit cards back in the day, in the early days when they were issuing them. I had a credit card and debit card. My debit card used to pay me, before all these credit cards paid loyalty things back from your capital return, my debit card paid me 15 cents per transaction. So I used to use it to pay bills and use it for things, and I got 15 cents. I used to make a few bucks every month off my bank account from that credit card or that debit card. But when I learned that card wasn't protected, I stopped using debit cards. Yeah, if that happens to my phone, I'm really screwed. You're right, but it's impossible to steal both my wallet and phone. Then I'm really screwed. Yeah, you are. Well, then you're really hurting here. Don't make the banks rich. Only have a credit card to rent car whilst traveling. That's another reason why you have to have a credit card to rent a car. Otherwise, you can't do that. You have to have a credit card to purchase, put balance on your Oyster card in the UK. You can't pay cash in most places. And years ago, I paid off my credit card because it took the credit card company 5 days to process payment. And payment was considered late, and I had to pay a fine. Yeah, no, I got you. That also happens. You can report them, and the government probably won't do anything about it. But that's why you get a 21 day grace period. I always pay my credit cards as soon as the bill gets published. All right. N says, if Chris was a South African, we'd be a diehard Freedom Front Plus supporter. And listen, some advice. Lay off the chibuku. Clearly, it affects your judgment. Where do you get this horse shit? We've been on here for an hour and 9 minutes. No one's mentioned the Freedom Front Plus. Are you just an ass? Is that just your nature? If Biden is replaced by a younger person, you think Democrat win? No, I do not. And says, my assessment that Chris supports Trump over Biden. Forget his argument about constitutionalism. All right, so just see. All right, I'm going to play this game for a few minutes, and then we're going to stop it, okay? So N just shows how stupid people are or how dishonest they are. I don't really think N is stupid. I think N is just dishonest. So once again, for N, supporting someone is not the same as being loyal, you moron. The question was loyalty, not support. There's a difference. I support a lot of things that I donate money to, people whom I've helped, people whom I've mentored, causes I've supported. But loyalty is a very different thing. The question was, will people be loyal to Trump? And you don't know what you're talking about because you're either a liar, dishonest, or just an ass. Or maybe you're stupid. I don't know. So, do I support Trump, the man they tried to murder? Well, here's an answer for you, Ann. There you go. Does that help you? That clarify you? Over a grifter who's stolen money from this country and betrayed this country and stolen classified documents for as long as we know, 15, 20 years, and sold this country down the river to Ukraine and to China, who started wars all over the planet, is funding a proxy war, who can't climb a flight of stairs or string a sentence together, who lies about everything he says. Am I going to support Joe Biden? I'd support a doorknob before I supported Joe Biden. That gives me little option but to support this guy. Finally, what? Did you orgasm? And get some tissue. Get some tissue. That'll help you clean up your mess. I've worn that hat before. You're just slow. Never travel. Okay, so I'm always nervous the Navy will not pay off. Yeah, no, that's one always bothers me too, the government credit card, because it's your credit history. I'm going to get to Ronaldo here shortly. One thing my country does right is banking regulations. There's a tough crisis. Oh, I remember the crisis. Yep. I had a scare my credit card the other day. It was a legitimate charge. Yeah, the names. You got to be careful with that, Carl. Yeah. Card companies. That's why I keep every receipt and everything I order online. I save the email and print it out. So I've got it. And I look for the charges. You got to be careful there. Cooling weather of late. Yeah, it's a little cooler here. The reason I was so paranoid is because I did have a case of identity. Yeah, no, same thing happened to me. I'm a very astute investor. And I had someone who sold credit card information from the military and sold our personal information from the military. And someone took our personal information outside a naval base and went and opened a credit card with a bank. And then they did a charge to see if the data was good to sell the information to someone else. And of course, I don't have that credit card, so I wasn't unaware of it. They didn't pay the bill. And after 30 days, a collection action was taken. And I suddenly started getting notices from collection agencies telling me I owed $11 and they're going to confiscate my car. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, so we got that under control. If you were South African, who would you support? Well, I don't know who I'm going to support. All the parties are disappointing me in this election. All of them. Action SA is disappointing me. ACDP is probably the party I might have the most interest in right now. Maybe, but they're a little too onto faith that so I'm not quite sold on them. But N obviously thinks that it's the Freedom Front Plus, but that's based on nothing other than N's bigotry and hatred. All right, so let's get to Ronaldo Jose. What's going on with Ronaldo Jose? Okay, so for those who are still here, I know some people want to know what's going on with Ronaldo. Ronaldo is currently working. He, however, is suspended from party activity. So Ronaldo cannot work on party activities, but he is a member of Parliament. So I don't know what work he does at Parliament, but he wasn't suspended from Parliament. So he's got obligations to Parliament. So one presumes that he's working in Parliament. But he's suspended from DA party activities while an investigation goes on. So, the media likes to make a big deal about that. He went to an event which is required for members of parliament. Each party does this for their members. It's, I don't know, it's probably where they hand them out their passwords and their keys to the building and all that stuff, but they tell them about their responsibilities. It was in the press a week or two ago saying he went to a DA party. He didn't go to a DA party. He went to a DA political party's obligated function, just like Action SA, ANC, Freedom Front Plus, EFF, all of them are required to do this as members of parliament. And he attended that because he had to do it. He didn't have a choice, but people tried to malign him and undermine him. He's suspended from DA party activities, but he is a member of parliament. This is utter nonsense, and it's all a consequence of an altered video. By the way, not a lot of attention being paid to the independent media who have slandered, libeled an innocent man, Vaudois, who has got death threats he's going to be castrated and murdered. Someone took out a 250,000 Rand contract to murder him, and he's not even the guy. This is all over the Gulam account. For all we know, N could be Gulam. Are you Gulam, N? Answer that question. Or did you get your photo? You got what you want and you've left. Yeah, maybe N is Gulam. Yeah, we saw that on one of the Daily Maverick writers made a big mistake too, set himself up for a slander, or for a libel lawsuit, claiming that Ronaldo is Gulam. It's comical. Well, and no one has any respect for you because you're a liar. You're a liar. Neither Ronaldo Jose or Anstros made racist statements. Show me where the Anstros racist statement is. Show me that. And N is Gulam. Yeah, there you go. N is Gulam MV. We've figured it out. Independent media. N is Gulam MV. We don't even know who N is. N could be your neighbor. You must be bored on Sunday, buddy. You must be bored on Sunday. Anyway, so Ronaldo is Ronaldo. What's this? Brit Hume says, "Ouch." What's this? Hang on a second here. We got something going on over here. Breaking news here. Let me see if it's worth talking about real quick. You notice I keep my mobile handy. So CNN fact checker should actually check his facts before going on a live national television after my RNC speech questioning my credibility about Biden's electric tanks. Oh, yeah. Yeah, anyway, so that's not important. That was from the thing. So all right. Doesn't even have the balls to use the real name. Exactly, Charmaine. Oh, N's leaving. I'm so sorry. Are you going to go do some tweets now, N? You got some tweets to do? Folks, for all you know, this could be a coordinated effort. This could be someone I know who's writing this stuff just to keep the chat going. Maybe N is a good actor. Not. Yeah, you can block him from your chat and you don't see it. Yeah, Carl, you're going to need to make an appointment. So, Courtney, you can block him yourself. Just go block him. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat, though. No, he can sit here and make false claims, but he's not calling. Well, actually, he did call somebody racist. He called me a racist. Well, he didn't call me a racist, but he said I supported racist. And he didn't call Ronaldo or Ernst. He just said they said racist comments. Anyway, back to some more profitable discussion. Emery, are you still here? We'll have a good conversation. There you go. All right, so Charles blocked him, and that's what you should do. And eventually what happens is everybody blocks him, and then nobody cares he's here. All right, so, yeah, okay, good to see Emery. Anyway, so yesterday we had an interesting conversation with some folks who came on, and one called me a liar. And I said, where's your evidence of that? Where did I lie? Well, what the person should have said is that I was mistaken, or I misspoke, or frankly, I was wrong. Of course, I was none of those. I wasn't mistaken. I didn't misspeak, and I wasn't wrong. That person was wrong. Arguing with me about a whole host of things. Some people find it shocking. I remember a few years ago when I started this channel and I was talking about Soweto. And I mentioned that Soweto is an acronym for Southwest Townships. The number of South Africans that didn't know that was shocking. That's back when we had 400 or 500 people in live streams. People are like, what? Soweto is not an African word? It means Southwest Townships? I'm like, yeah. Took an American to tell hundreds of South Africans that was the case. I remember that vividly. Some of you might have been here for that when that happened on that stream. I don't recall if you were or not, but yeah. So anyway, it's interesting, just the cognitive dissonance or the willful ignorance that many South Africans have to their own history. Yep, we talk about things. When I talk about, I said that the Afrikaners aren't Dutch, and they are. No, they're not. No, they're not. They have Dutch ancestry, many of them, but they're not Dutch. The name Hofmeyer is not Dutch. Wessels is not Dutch. Yep. Well, Charles, but those same Safas tell me I don't know anything about South Africa, and I have no right. There's the super chat. Finally took a while to come up. And those same idiots say, I have no business talking about South Africa and I'm an American interfering in things when they don't know jack shit about their own country. So in my video that I responded to this concern, when she said, she's talking about the races, and I now, as kind of, being cheeky, I said, whoa, stop. Sorry, there are no races. There's a human race. There's one race. And I quoted Robert Sobukwe. Most South Africans don't even know who Robert Sobukwe is. I've actually met his granddaughter, not in person, but through electronic means. Yeah, she was going to college here in the States. There was a question in your Matrix paper in 1975, says Helen. I think that the Dutch and Afrikaners are very closely connected. No, they're not. They're not. Dutch immigration to the Cape did not last particularly long. The original Dutch were quickly reinforced with Germans primarily, but French Huguenots also. And they all just reproduced like rabbits. Oh, yeah, they are morons, Charles, but they're the ones that get to put things on social media and people see it. It's just sad and pathetic. Sad and pathetic. It's interesting how little these people know and how much. I'm not talking about people yesterday. Yesterday was a very good discussion. So if any of those people were here in the discussion yesterday, this is not directed at you. No. Yesterday was good discussion. It's directed at people like N, who really know what they're talking about. They just say stupid things. My mom is from French heritage. My father is Dutch. There you go, Charmaine. There you go. It's hard for me to imagine the permissive culture of Amsterdam as being normalized in towns. Exactly. See, now, Courtney, you've just hit the nail on the head. While the French Huguenots and the Dutch Calvinists and the Germans who came to South Africa were people of faith who came in the 16th or the 17th and 18th centuries, the Dutch became hedonistic in the 20th century and abandoned faith in mass. I think a minority of people actually are faithful people in the Netherlands now. I don't know the exact figure, but they don't go to church. They are hedonistic. The legalization of drugs, the tolerance of drugs, the tolerance of all sorts of other things are not things that South Africans in the norm, black or white or colored, participate in by and large. Yes, there are people that are part of that, but society in general, they're very conservative. So there is one example that's not skin related, that's not language related, that's culture related. People of faith. Dutch was the 1600s. That's where the connection basically ends. Afrikaans evolved from Dutch originally. Yep, the Cape Colony belonged nominally to the Dutch until 1805, actually. 1803, 1805. It was given back briefly to the Dutch in 1803 and came back to the Brits, I think, in 1805. Yep, so for 150 years, the Dutch, and it wasn't even the government, the Dutch East India Company controlled South Africa. The Dutch, the VOC, the Dutch East India Company. They controlled South Africa, not the Dutch government. Yep. So there you have it. Yeah, but the Dutch played a role. But that just shows you how historically ignorant people are. Keith is saying that there are Dutch who've immigrated to South Africa and understand. Well, my experience with Dutch people, and I've been with Dutch and Afrikaners, not in South Africa, and the Dutch have no idea what the hell is being said. I've also met Dutch at the African Union, and we had South Africans speaking Afrikaans, and they're like, what the hell is that? It sounds familiar, but I have no idea what they're saying. So I'm not sure how those people understand it, but many Dutch do not understand Afrikaans. They're not mutually intelligible, whereas Afrikaners tend to be able to understand Dutch. Many South Africans will be surprised after. Oh, yes, they will, African idiot. Yes, they will. Catherine says, my great-great-grandmother was from Bengal. There you go. Exactly. Emery says there's some overlapping words, but it's unintelligible with Dutch. That's been my experience, Keith. That's been my experience. I know a few Dutchmen who do understand Afrikaans. One of them was the Dutch attaché that was in South Africa, but he spent several years there. Yes, Mark, it does develop from war. It's got all these different. That's why the Tal Monument has those 7 spires. Let me find that real quick. Just I've got pictures, but it'll take longer than doing a search on Google. Tal Monument, Afrikaans language monument in Paarl. And here you go. Let me see, photos, images. Here we go. We'll get a good picture of it here somewhere. None of these are actually good pictures. That's probably the best one there. Yeah, let's go with that one. There you go. So the Tal Monument in Paarl. Okay, here we go. There it is. A monument to a language? Well, it's not that often a new one is created. Unveiled 1975, the Tal Monument for Afrikaans pokes up the sky on a hillside outside Paarl. Be sure to take the time to appreciate the symbolism of the various components. Yep. So, the Tal Monument was designed by Jan van Wyk and is built of concrete, standing amongst granite boulders and indigenous trees overlooking Paarl. Its distinctive features: 3 linked columns represent the contribution of the West, 3 round shapes represent the magic, mystery, and traditions of Africa, a low wall depicts the cultural contribution of the Indonesian people to Afrikaans, and a rising wall merged into a covered corridor symbolizing a bridge representing the way Afrikaans forms a link between Europe and Africa and Asia. Yep. Culturally, Paarl played a major role in the establishment of the Afrikaans language. In the 1870s, a teacher of classical languages at the Paarl Gymnasium, Arnoldus Pannevis, observed that although Dutch was the established language, the majority of the people actually had very little understanding of it. Over the years, many of the common people no longer used High Dutch to communicate with each other to such an extent that it could no longer be deemed a dialect, but it was, in fact, a new language. Afrikaans had evolved. Pannevis and his colleagues discussed the matter many times at a meeting in a homestead of Gideon Malherbe, a farmer who had married the daughter of the principal of the gymnasium, and in 1875, the Genootschap van Rechte Afrikaans was formed, the Institute of True Afrikaners. Its purpose was to ensure that Afrikaans became established as a written and accepted language. Pannevis and his colleagues worked on the grammar and vocabulary. In 1876, they launched the first ever Afrikaans newspaper, the Afrikaanse Patriot, printed on a press at Malherbe's house. Later, this little press also produced many books in Afrikaans. The first Congress of Language was held in Paarl in 1896, and after a successful campaign, Afrikaans became an official language in South Africa. Gideon Malherbe's house is beautifully restored. It is now the Afrikaans Language Museum. I've been there. So there you go. There you go. Yeah, the Tal Monument is lovely. Been there many, many times. It is the youngest language in the world. Yep. Yeah, but Fangalore is not really, it technically probably is a language, but it's considered a patois. It's a Creole. Mark Myberg says it's our language and proud of it. Yep. Yesterday, Chris mentioned Arabic and Afrikaans connection. Yeah, Ernst, apparently the first time that Afrikaans was written down before these activities was written in Arabic script by Western Cape folks who knew the Arabic alphabet. Yep. Flemish is old. What about Flemish? Flemish has been around a long time. Philippines are close to Afrikaans and Dutch. It's the accent that throws people off. Well, I don't know about that. Philippines speak Spanish. Rudolph Arofera says, oh, snap, we're at the Tal Monument today. We are. Is West Frisian related to Africans? No. To Afrikaans? No. I speak fluent German, but I don't understand Hochdeutsch. Emery, I speak fluent German, and I understand Hochdeutsch. I understand many dialects. In fact, I've been accused... it's the miners' language is what you're talking about, Garrett. Yeah, Fangalore or Fangalo. But it's considered a patois, a Creole. Courtney gave $1.99 asking if Frisian is related. Thank you for that, Courtney. Love that postal service revenue. Thank you. That must be the Cape Malay then in the Western Cape. Yeah, all that played a role. Yeah. So why would Arabic come into play when Arabs weren't in South Africa? Almost none. Well, because Islam, the Quran, was written in Arabic. It wasn't translated in a whole lot of languages until a certain point. So people who are Muslim, who were imams, had to learn Arabic so they could help with the faith of Islam. And so Islamic scholars who spoke Afrikaans were the ones. Colonel knows my country better than I do. All I know is we are led by... Right, yes, I'd say it's sort of Creole too, but it can become official because French Creole and Mauritius is the thing. Yeah, but being official and being a language are two different things. I mean, linguists have to designate something as a language, and there's certain things for it. Hochdeutsch. No, Hochdeutsch is easy. The High German is easy. It's the proper German. Yep. Anyway, so I was going to go to, when was I at the Talon Monument with, let me see if I can find that with Craig. Let's see when that was. Live at the Talon Monument. So that's September 5th of 2022. That's why I'm going to go find some pictures of the Talon Monument from February 5th of 2022. That's going to be on this drive, I think. Let me see. Maybe not. Well, that's the wrong one. 2022. Nope. 2022. Where's it at? Come on. Well, it's not there. It must be here. Let me look and see. See, these not so easy to find these things. There it is. 2022, February. There we go. January, March, December. Where the heck is February at? There it is. I got the thing. Okay, so good. Now I got it. Now I can find the Talon Monument. Should be somewhere. February 18th, 26th. Okay. How is it that I don't have South Africa stuff on here? That doesn't make any sense. It's January. February. I'm missing files here. Well, how is that possible? That is really odd. Well, I'll find them later, but they're not here where they're supposed to be. That's strange. Very strange. Anyway, I'll find them. They're somewhere. But yeah, the pictures of that trip. So they got to be around somewhere. If they're not here, they're elsewhere. I know where they may be. They may be sitting on. They may be sitting. What the heck is going on? View by extra large. There we go. Oh, that's the truckers rally. Truckers rally. Remember that? You guys remember the truckers rally? That was funny. That's a long time ago. Here you go. That's a truckers rally in Maryland. That was the convoy. Laura Lynn, Tyler Thompson there. No, I didn't get hacked. I just don't have it stored in the right place. Just don't have it in the right place. I need to organize my electronic backups better than I've got them organized, I think. So that's part of the problem. So that's what happened there. Anyway, 2 hot blondes. Well, that's a matter of opinion. Yeah, Marilyn, I remember it too. Longer beard, yep. AI and Afrikaans. What? Der Teufel hat den Schnaps gemacht, uns zu... that's not a word. Höher. What is Ernst trying to say there? How to teach my Irish husband that didn't understand Afrikaans. It took a long time. Oh, Helen, it's not easy. Afrikaans is not easy. Yep. I mean, the grammar is easy. The language, if you speak German and English, you can figure it out, which is it was a big help for me and understand Afrikaans is knowing able to speak German and English. But the pronunciation is brutal. But I mean, he had himself a boredom. I see, Helen. Why didn't he learn it? He should have learned it if he was into you. Oh, boy. Courtney gave another $1.99. So, Courtney, when you say you are hot, it means you're literally physically hot. Doesn't mean you're good looking. It means you're physically hot. It's like the famous sentence by John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He went to Berlin. He said, "Ich bin ein Berliner." In German, you don't use an article. You don't use the definitive article or relative article. You don't say you are something. You say you are something. So you don't say ich bin Deutscher, ein Deutscher. You say ich bin Deutsch. Ich bin Berliner. Basically, what John Fitzgerald Kennedy said when he went to Berlin, he said, "I am a jelly donut." And what do you mean a jelly? Because ein Berliner is a jelly donut. It's a jelly-filled donut. It's a Berliner. Just like a Nürnberger is a little white sausage and a Frankfurter is a little hot dog. Das ist eine Frankfurter, das ist ein Nürnberger. You don't say, ich bin ein Berliner, because it means you're a jelly donut. That's too funny. That's too funny. No, it doesn't, Carl. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. So I can imagine all the Germans in Berlin. Ich bin ein Berliner. And like, Heinz, did he just call himself a jelly donut? What is he talking about? You know, if you ring the bell, you need to buy drinks. Isaac LaRue. Nope. We're all jelly donuts. Well, as we get older, we become jelly donuts sometimes. Some of us do. Anyway. It's taken out of context. Doesn't matter if it's taken out of context. He did say he was a jelly donut. I need to learn to say, what does that mean? Yep, we all become jelly donuts at some stage, folks, whether you like it or not. 94 likes. Where did N go? He got bored. All he wanted to see was the hat. He got to see the hat, and he left. Well, what can you do, Helen, except laugh at some point? I want crabs again today, man. Oh, can I afford it? I have to look at my credit card bill to see if I have any money left. I want crabs. Maybe they have a special on today. Anyway. Yeah, Kenny had a few too many Berlin Schussbiers. Oh, I'm still getting razzed over that. Remember that? My clock is in Celsius, and that's for my audience, much of which is global, not American, and we stick to the Fahrenheit scale, while much of the world has converted to Celsius. Crab curry sounds... Oh, crab curry would be good too, yeah. It is in Celsius, 22 degrees Celsius. People always think it's the wrong year. Like, you got the wrong year on your clock. No, I don't. Starts with days of the week. That's what the white thing is at the bottom for Sunday. Then it has the time and military hour, 24-hour clock. Then it has the temperature on the top on the right-hand side in Celsius. And then the date, 7/21. You can get that at the corner for cheap. Get what at the corner? Garrett is trying to correct me. He said, ich bin ein Berliner. And then I corrected it, the proper way of saying the word, ich bin Berliner. Ich bin Berliner. That's how you say it. It's not ich. That's what Berliners say. But then they were corrupted by French Huguenots, 50,000 who moved to Berlin. 50,000 Huguenots moved to Berlin. You guys got a few hundred in South Africa. And look at how many of you are there now with Du Toits and Duplessis and all these frogs that have become Afrikaners and these proliferation of people with that surname. 50,000 went to Berlin and they corrupted the German language. My eldest son speaks Tswana since baby time. No one knew till they gossip in front of him. Oh, what? You must have had a caregiver or something. And now Hendo is saying he's getting it wrong too. He says he is Berlin. Ich bin Berlin. What did Carl say? What can I get at the corner store? I missed. That must have been the joke I missed. Chris, you need to learn to say, oh, okay. Still not sure what that was all about. Mark Myberg, minus 32 plus 1.8. There you go. It's very complicated. I don't know how. I use Kelvin. I don't use Fahrenheit or Celsius. I use Kelvin. So the temperature never changes. I use Kelvin. It's always the same, at least here on planet Earth. 1 million fireflies. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. Corner cheap. Oh, got it, Charmaine. I didn't see that. That's what it's about, the corner store. Yeah, sorry, that's not on my agenda. So 15 degrees Celsius. That's lovely, Charles. 15 degrees Celsius is beautiful. I'd love for 15 degrees Celsius. Appears that the settlers spoke 17th century Dutch, which would have been different today's Dutch, though some believe Afrikaans was almost constructed. I guess it came from children. No, actually, Afrikaans grew out of the slaves. That's where it grew from. It really came from that. So the slaves really brought in words from Asia, and then Khoi words and San words found their way into it. They were speaking Dutch, and it was a patois, a Creole, and over time it developed into a language. Yep. Isaac says, what's that? It's nice and fresh. Okay. All right. You guys. Hey, listen, I'm the one that eats the steamed crabs and Maryland blue crabs. You guys miss out on that. They are tasty but pricey. And never enough. Yeah, Afrikaans is a farm language. Yeah, farmhouse language. Yeah, there you go. That's where the slaves were, in the farmhouse. The caregivers, the cooks, the cleaners. Yep. Yep. Anyway, God bless. So there you are. There you are. That's how things are. So N is gone. I wonder where N went. Anyway, I think a lot of people miss N. So, no rugby for me tonight. This will be the first night in 3 nights that I don't have to work all day long and into the evening. So that's nice. Yep, that's nice. I'm looking forward to that. I've got some reading to do. I've got some cleaning up to do. If I get some crabs, I got some crab picking to do. And yeah, so I think I'm going to take a little break because tomorrow I've got to run around and do some errands. Yep, including picking up some meds. Maybe Afrikaans was of Dutch. Yeah, it was a Creole of Dutch back then. Yeah, Afrikaans developed out of it. Yeah, there's no doubt that the root base of Afrikaans is Dutch. However, the language is very different than Dutch. Yep. But I remember I was welcome in the kitchen. Yeah, exactly. Remember when I was in Netherlands at Soesterberg Air Base? A couple things stood out to me. When I drove in the gate, there was a young lady standing at the gate pulling guard duty with long hair and earrings and in fatigues. She was the guard. Except when I got to the gate to show my military ID card, because it's U.S. military ID card, I have access to NATO bases. And Soesterberg was an air base where F-16s were at, but guarded by the Dutch. I gave my ID card to her, and she was a he. Dutch soldiers with hair down below their collar like females and wearing earrings in 1990s. What the hell is wrong with the Dutch military? So that was the first thing I remember. Then I was able to get a room at the Officers Club, which was adjacent to the flight line. Unfortunately for me, they were flying F-16s all afternoon into the evening. So I went into the bathroom to shower. I was getting ready, walked back out. I had turned the TV on, and the news was on. And it was in Dutch. And this gentleman was talking. He's prattling on in Dutch. And there was a lady there who was gorgeous. She could have been a model. She was a news announcer. And he was talking, and I'm like, whatever, get done. I want to hear what she has to say. And then she started talking, and she was the most gorgeous creature I'd ever seen in my life. And then she spoke in Dutch. God, I thought a kraken was coming up out of the water, and that was it. She wasn't pretty anymore. Oh, my goodness. She was so gorgeous, and then she spoke. And I just, oh, my God, who released the kraken? I will never forget that. I have no idea who she was. She was a Dutch news announcer, and she was so gorgeous. I was just captivated by her beauty. I'm like, yes. And then she spoke. Last night in the... Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. That was something else. I'll never forget that. That stick with me forever. Yeah, she had teeth. She was gorgeous, Garrett. She was gorgeous. That woman she was drop dead gorgeous. She was a model quality, yeah. She could have given Melania a run for her money, to say the least. But I was like, I was going to lose my lunch there. Listen to that. Okay. Gaan goed, says RB. Now we're bringing in, what's her name there? From Namibia, the singer, Juanita du Plessis. Gaan goed. Yep. Tried Afrikaans on the Dutch when visiting my daughter. I could just have spoken Latin. Exactly, George. They don't know any what you're saying. I think that we have this problem with the Germans here in England. That's pretty good, Keith. That's pretty good. All right, folks. That's pretty good. Hit the like button. We haven't hit 100 likes yet. Come on. We got a little bit of super chat revenue. We haven't even hit $100 yet. Come on. Hit that. Or not $100. Yeah, no, I would love to hit $100. We haven't hit 100 likes. You got to take care of that. 96. Pedro says, thank you. What a lekker conversation. We need to do this more and more. Well, that's why I used to do Night Owls. But with the attacks and with the shadow banning on YouTube, with my busy schedule, I stopped doing night owls. Used to do the news, knock the news off an hour and a half, take a break, and come back at 3 p.m., 9 o'clock. But, the audience wasn't big enough to justify it. If I have more than 50 for night owls, I'll do it. If the audience was this good, I would do night owls again. But it takes a huge effort on my part, and we just have these conversations. We talk about American history, talk about economics, we talk about the Cold War, we talk about sometimes my military service because people ask about that. But you guys have to commit to showing up for night owls, otherwise, because I don't get anything out of it other than the nice chat. But I have lots of other things to do. So, anyway, everybody have a good night. Gaan groet. Nant. Goedenavond, everyone. Goedenavond allemaal. All right? Everyone take care. Bye-bye. Take care. We'll see you later. Cheers. And exits. Suffering succotash. Exit stage left.